Hello again, everyone. Welcome back. I hope you're all healthy, happy, and safe out there in this undeniably interesting time we currently find ourselves in. In this video, I'm going to speak on something I'm sure most of us are familiar with if we're following the news these days, and that has become very well, we'll say, ideologically prognathous in the last few years or so. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're talking about what is colloquially referred to as wokeness, or more specifically, the very prolific war on wokeness. So, my friends, first and foremost, let's talk about what being woke actually even means. Traditionally, as it has been used in the African American community, for example, being woke is this sense that due to an appraisal of the extensive, sordid history of the race relations in this country, you are alert to how racism can be systemic in its diffusion throughout the American way of life. Now, what we saw in 2020, for example, what being woke means in another sense is that essentially you are an individual who is aware of, alert to, and vehemently opposed to how pervasive and intertwined racism is not just in America, but towards people of color around the world. Being woke is related to anything to do with empowering minorities, of being empathetic towards the struggles of the disenfranchised and the destitute. Woke means you actually care about social justice, the reduction of human suffering around the world, and the amelioration of the human condition as a whole. Along these same lines, for those of you like myself who are fans of the movie The Matrix, being woke means that you have figuratively woken up from the slumber of ignorance and blithe acceptance of the quiet desperation, ceaseless mediocrity, and daily vicissitudes of life. Very much like the characters in this movie, people who are woke are people who have been awakened to the true reprehensible nature of the modern world, and thus yearn to combat it, whether through active protest, the removal of monuments to genocide and slavery, cancellation of openly bigoted dissidents, to also include the reteaching of history to be inclusive of the contributions and the sacrifices of every race, creed, color, and religion towards facilitating the progress of our own great nation and the world. Now, made it this far into the video, congratulations. This all should sound absolutely delightful. After all, I can't imagine what sort of individual would argue against the magnanimous support and belief in the pursuit of knowledge and the future efflorescence of all humanity. However, we all know the reason we're here, let's be very real, is due specifically to the right-wing media sphere's exhaustive efforts to inculcate into their constituents that to be associated with anything woke or DEI is pejorative as opposed to being complimentary. And thus now there is a considerable segment of the population that has a visceral disdain towards anything related to diversity, equity, and inclusion, and voted for people they believe would eradicate it from our society. And as of the making of this video, they are working towards doing precisely that. First of all, of course, we're all entitled to our beliefs, but I would certainly like everyone to understand why, in this day and age, this is a problem. People who openly despise and are committed to the abrogation in our society of anything they perceive as woke are, some perhaps unknowingly, and yet a great many are very purposefully committed to retrograding culturally this great melting pot, this bastion of freedom and opportunity, America, instead of progressively moving forward together. Ladies and gentlemen, unarguably, If we are ever to accomplish anything meaningful as a society, as a species, make no mistake, together is the best way forward. A great example of what I mean is that back in 2020, when faced with the COVID pandemic, what we thought at the time was potentially an existential threat to humanity, a threat that didn't care who you were, where you were from, what color you were, your religion, your political party, when it came to how we responded, that is. What should have brought everyone together, put us all on the same page, to keep all of our citizens safe while we figured this thing out, we failed. What should have united us, not only as a country, but as human beings, unfortunately, due to our own political and ideological differences, only served to divide us even further. We instead fought each other tooth and nail for months about the gravity and validity of the situation, and in the process, we lost millions of people across the world. In the future, should something truly existential threaten us, such immense disunion could be our demise. Now, with that said, I believe that is why we must fight so fervently to preserve the progress we've made in this arena, because what I know is that we cannot go back, ladies and gentlemen. Why? Because we've already seen where that path takes us, where the contaminated waters of the river of hatred empty into a vast ocean of human suffering. We already know that the genesis of this country was brutal, cruel, and exploitative. It involved slavery, murder, and the pilfering of land and resources from other people who continued to be discriminated against for decades, even after the so-called manifest destiny of this country had reached its culmination. Even in recent history, we've already seen the spread of cruel, racist, and bigoted laws. We've seen the evisceration of classroom libraries through book banning. We've seen the absurd conspiracy theories and emboldened and violent racist fringe, and even what many considered to be an outright coup attempt on our democracy. We've already seen the divide of urban and rural communities of every race and color who might otherwise work together against elitists who, outside of their vested interests in things like the value of their crypto coins or not paying taxes on their unrealized capital gains, may have no real concern whatsoever for the well-being of the underprivileged. Understanding such misgivings in our past and ensuring all are represented can bring greater unity rather than our usual divisions, as long as we do not perpetrate in our present day and bequeath to our future generations the ideologies that facilitate those divisions. We must continue to educate, continue to paint the unexpurgated picture of a diverse and simultaneously harmonious future for our society, ensuring that everyone sees themselves reflected in the antithesis of that society, and that we do not hide from the past in an attempt to cushion the fantasy of our country as an unerring and morally perfect and ethically infallible republic, which then lends itself to the belief that, well, everything's fine and nothing needs to change. My friends, when you take the usual divisiveness of politics out of the equation, we typically have more commonality than that which is divisive to us. For example, even what we've experienced of the ceaseless bedlam of conspiracy theorist costermongers of the last few years, who you may recall I've certainly expressed my own distaste for. They are all actually, by definition, themselves woke. Because whether or not their theories have any merit and have at times been socially detrimental, they at the very least have the wherewithal to understand that there is more than meets the eye to the world that we live in. We also have various personalities across the vastness of the internet who are not typically associated with the term woke, such as no less a figure than Joe Rogan, who, make no mistake, has expressed some beliefs over the years that are inextricably dubious. But love him or hate him, he's always been willing to deep dive into the controversial as well as conspiratorial issues, seeking a more thorough understanding and knowledge of what's really going on behind the scenes, whether it's politics, social issues, or even extraterrestrials. So, as it turns out, in that regard, once again, when you look at it, these commonalities related to being enlightened about the realities of the world in which we live should be even more impetus to stand united in the face of hatred, injustice, and tyranny wherever they may rear their ugly heads. Just another reminder that we're all in this together. And together, my friends, is the way forward. So, stay woke, everyone. Our future depends on it. And as always, remember, there is no ignorance. There is knowledge. May the force be with you.